Nice.
So now we are going to get into a phone call. Wyatt Milbra, friend of the program, calling in to talk about this European Super Soccer League deal that is potentially happening, potentially not happening. We don't really
Hello?
know, but Wyatt knows a lot about it, and he's calling in.
So I believe we have Wyatt on the phone right now. Wyatt, do we have you?
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm actually driving right now.
Oh, okay. Uh,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on today, bud.
Yep. Thanks for having me. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Well, we're excited to have you next week too. But before next week, we want to break down this Super League that's going on. Can you fill in us and our listeners on that? Those who may not be big soccer fans.
Yeah. I mean, basically, what's gone down is owners of 12 major clubs across Europe tried to combine their efforts to create a super league, which would be exclusive to all of their teams within the continent. I mean, this was a clear power grab driven by greed. And the fact that this was a headline above all the other things going on right now in this world, it's crazy. And it's basically an attack against the people and pretty much the sport that billions of people across this globe follow.
Right. Wyatt, I want to ask you. So, a lot of teams are maybe going to be in it, maybe not in it. Is this definitely happening? If so, are teams backing out? Because I've heard that like Barcelona may or may not be doing it, and then like
Yes. So,
Chelsea may not or may be doing it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Klein, to address that issue, in the past hour, there's been breaking news that all of the English clubs from the Premier League have actually dipped from the Super League. They have abandoned the Super League, and there's currently the progress of them backing out of the Super League.
Oh.
So this is good news.
This is great news.
Wow.
And basically what this is the people have fought back against the elitists, and the people have won.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
basically,
electric.
Wyatt, correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, it's that most of these people that own the soccer teams are not from where the soccer teams are. They're Americans who are just trying to make an extra buck off of these high generating teams. Not the best teams, but the high generating ones. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So what it's become, you'll hear about takeovers that happen within the sport. Takeovers occur when outside influences often from foreign people that will buy over these clubs. I mean, you see it happen with Manchester City. You see it happen with Chelsea, Manchester United in 2005. Big news today: Manchester United vice chairman, the man who was responsible for their 2005 takeover, responsible for many of the titles and all of the money that they put into that club, he stepped down today. 16 years at the club. That's pretty big news.
Wow. That's insane. I mean, this seems, and like they were saying, if there's
The
no
fallout from the Super League.
if there's no British teams in it, can they even have a Super League? Because the Premier League is one of the biggest leagues in the world, Wyatt. So does this mean that it probably isn't happening?
It's basically not happening.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, that's exciting.
essentially what was going to happen when you have American sport and you have a sort of situation like this, you see a lockout format.
Oh, sure.
You see players who lash out against the owners, but this was more than that because there are managers, there are fans, and it's essentially an entire community has backlashed against 6 to 12 owners who have spearheaded this against the people's will.
Right. And they were trying to say that if your club was in the Super League, that you couldn't even play in the World Cup for your own country.
I know. Well, that's the thing. There was clear government intervention that was going to occur. There was clear association intervention that was going to occur. You hear of FIFA saying that players will be banned to represent their countries during the World Cup, which would be something insane to even fathom, that all of these high-profile players wouldn't even represent their country. It wasn't. The entire proposition was incredibly hard to believe, and that's why it was groundbreaking.
It almost felt fake.
Yeah, it did. I agree. It almost did, and clearly the fact that it's lasted almost 2 to 3 days and it's almost come full circle is just a call to how
Right.
insanely preposterous this whole thing was.
Definitely.
Absolutely. We're talking to Wyatt Milroad here about the Super League and the crash and burn of it in the past hour or so. So Wyatt, you mentioned earlier soccer is a sport that's very much built from the ground up, built from the people. What did it mean for these clubs to then fight back and then win and be like, no, we're going to stay? Like, what does that mean to you as a normal soccer fan, and what does that mean to everybody else who's huge soccer
Max,
fans?
Yes, I hear you. And it's still in the process of a fallout. There's going to be consequences, definitely. I mean, personally, as a fan, I can say that, like, I was very disgusted and sickened almost by what my own team was doing. It was hard to believe.
And your team is?
Tottenham Hotspur, based in North London.
Sure.
Yes. So, and I mean, all English fans felt it. All fans, I'm sure, within Spain and Italy who did not want this to happen. And I mean, you look at the big boys like in Germany.
They didn't join, right?
Yes, they were fully against this.
Interesting. That's definitely interesting.
If I can touch on that for a slight minute.
Sure, please do.
Of course, Wyatt.
What you have in England and Italy and Spain are these owners who have pretty much total autonomy, almost not total autonomy, but they have massive portions and massive stakes within these clubs. More so, it's really hard to believe the value of these clubs like Manchester United. I mean, probably more than the economies of I don't know how many South American countries combined, but you can start to think of how much money is pumped into this. And with Germany, what you have is the ownership pool is 51 plus. Essentially what that means.
That's interesting.
51 plus, I'm not sure if I'm getting this right. There's certain fans who could definitely touch up on this. 51 plus means that 51% of the ownership is within the fan base.
I like that.
That is that for our American football listeners, that is like the Green Bay Packers, whereas some of their organization is sold to their fan base. So for anybody who's not a big soccer fan, big football fan, that's a way you can kind of see the similarities here.
We can draw back to what you were saying, Max, and what this happens is there's hundreds of years of history within England and with all these countries, and it's because of these communities and like the people have supported these clubs that they're at this position they are today, you know? And so for these owners who potentially don't even have more than 2 decades worth of time within these clubs to make these decisions against the behalf of the people, it was betrayal. And I mean, you saw the backlash across social media. You saw the people storm Anfield and Stamford Bridge today.
Absolutely, yeah.
Liverpool and Chelsea, respectively. Those are their home stadiums.
Yep.
Oh, actually, not Anfield, Elland Road, which is the home stadium of Leeds United.
Got it. Yeah. Didn't they have a game yesterday?
Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
Yes. Yeah. Gotcha.
But yeah, essentially, what has happened is these owners have buckled under the enormous pressure that has happened, and I mean, within the past hour, 6 teams have already backed out of the Super League. I'm sure it'll dissolve by the end of this month, this week. I'm not sure how the litigation process will go, but it's not going to happen, and I'm more than happy that is going to occur.
Absolutely. I mean, not a big soccer fan here, as you know, Wyatt, but I'm happy for all of my friends who are soccer fans that these greedy fucks aren't going to form this league.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that it's not happening, but the fact that it was the highlight of the news is sad in general.
Absolutely.
Right. Wyatt, we want to thank you for coming on and talking with us today about this, and we're looking forward to having you back in studio for the draft live stream next week. People are going to get to hear a little more of you. This was awesome. That's going to be awesome. So looking forward to next week, man.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, take care.
See you, Wyatt. To subscribe, click here. To check out our behind the scenes series, Behind the Bench, click here. To check out clips, click here. To check out backlogged episodes, click here. Peace, guys. See you Thursday.